Okay, so in this video we will talk about why I think you should choose an e-reader that is dedicated to e-reading and you can't do anything else than reading on it. Here we have two examples of a dedicated e-reader. Here we have a Kobo Clara. This run co-reader at the moment, as you see here. At the bottom you see co-reader status bar. And here we have a Kindle Basic, also running co-reader. It's jailbreaked, so I can run co-reader on it. But these two are made for reading and nothing else. You can't do much else than reading on these kinds of devices. And I think that is what you should choose if you want to read a lot of books. Because these devices doesn't distract you to do anything else. You will not procrastinate as much and so on. So for example, when you will start a new chapter or so on, maybe you don't feel for it as much. But with this device only, you can just continue reading. The difference with, for example, Onyx Books devices like this, the Onyx Books Palma, and also the Bigme devices, these two runs Android. And that means that you can do a lot more on these devices because they are running Android. So for example, if I want to read on this, but I am actually maybe in a start of a new chapter or something, and you see that it's 40 pages of reading that chapter, maybe you then say, I will check my email instead, or I want to see my Reddit feed or some social network or something to procrastinate with instead of reading that next chapter. And that is a huge drawback with these and a huge benefit with a pure dedicated e-reader. Because if you have a pure dedicated e-reader instead, then you just have to read, you can't do anything else, and that will help you read a lot more. So if I pick up this and see that I have some other apps installed that I can use instead of reading, for example Reddit or something, or like this on the Bigme B751C, you see I have a lot of other apps here. I try to uninstall apps that doesn't have anything with book reading to do, but for example I have Reddit there. So instead of starting that next chapter of the book, maybe I choose to check my Reddit to see if there is something new cool to distract me and procrastinate instead of starting the next chapter of the book. And that is what I mean with having a pure dedicated e-reader instead. Like this, the Kobo Clara that I at the moment have an experiment with, that I will only use this device for the complete summer. So I will only use one device instead of my 13 or 14 other e-reader devices I have, so I will only use this. And another benefit with that, if you use a device for purely e-reading and nothing else, you don't need to have any network. These kinds of devices, especially if you run co-reader, you can add with a lot of books using a cable. You can connect it to Calibre with a cable. You don't need a network for that. And then you can store all the books you have and have them always with you, so you can start a new book when the first one is left off. And by having only this device without network connection, then the battery life gets so much better than having a network and having Wi-Fi on and so on. Here you see, for example, my statistics. I have 21% left of the last charge I did. I have had the device awake for soon 24 hours. It has consumed 69% of the battery life, change per hour 2.93%, estimated remaining time 7 hours. That's really good. It has been sleeping 11 days, as you see there, consumed 5%. And I have charged it for 1 hour and 26 minutes the last time I charged it. Then, since last charge, I have used it for 12 days and 12 hours and 45 minutes. I have consumed in total 74%, and the change per hour is 0.25% only, and I have an estimated remaining time of 3 days. So you can basically use this a lot for reading. You can use it at least for 14 days, and I read a lot. So 14 days on one charge with co-reader installed, because I don't use the network. And I have the front light on quite much in the evening, so that is also drains the battery faster. But as you see, you can still use it for over 14 days on one charge with co-reader installed. That is quite impressive actually for co-reader stats. Co-reader usually drains the battery a bit more on just Kobo devices. On Kindle devices they are better. The battery lasts a bit better on Kindle devices, strangely though, running co-reader than on Kobo devices. But as you see, 14 days is more than enough for me. I read about 1.5 hours every day. I can have that stats also here, I think. You see here. Time spent reading today, 41 minutes. I've spent 14 hours on this book. Estimated reading time left, 2 hours and 40 minutes. I've read this book for 9 days. Average time per day, 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I read about 1 hour and 30 minutes every day on this device with this book, as you see. So you can have all these different stats. But what I mean with having a pure dedicated reader, an e-reader, an e-ink e-reader, that is that you can only read and do only that and nothing else. That is so much better than having a device that you can do so much more. I know a lot of people like Onyx Books devices and Bigme devices because they can do so much more than reading on them. So for example, people are using this and the Highbreak Pro, for example, the Bigme Highbreak Pro, as their phone instead and so on. So you have it always with you and so on. That is great, yes, but you can still procrastinate and you will be quite distracted by notifications and other apps. You are tempted to do a Google search, you are tempted to read mails, browsing the web, social networks, and so on. That is the big drawback with Android-based e-readers with Google Play Store, because you can install any app you want to use on it instead of just reading books and nothing else. So if you want to read more, I suggest to use a dedicated, purely e-reader and nothing else. So that was my thoughts about how you should decide which kinds of book readers you want to have. I know a lot of people at the moment buy books, Onyx Books devices at the moment, and they are awesome. I like them too. But if you want to read more instead of less, then you should go for dedicated ebook readers like the Pocketbook, like the Kobo, like the Kindle, and so on. Not a device that you can do everything else that you can do on a smartphone or on tablet. Yes, it's slower to do that on these kinds of devices, but you can still do that, and that is a waste of time when you can read a book instead. That is my personal opinion. But yes, if you want a device to do more and not read more, then these are great to have because they are using e-ink, and that's better for your eyes and so on. And it will help you read more, I guess. But these devices will help you read even more. Okay, bye.